Hello and welcome back to this video series where we're looking at building an e-commerce platform in 25 days using Next, Netlify, and Stripe. So you'll see here, we've built out our landing page. And this is basically finished, right? We have our products rendering out on the page. People would totally trust this website and they'd totally give you money and buy your basketball hoop or your cooking classes or Pokemon Blue. Also, we probably need to spend a bit of time working out who our target market is here because we're selling some pretty random stuff. But hey, I guess so does Amazon, and they seem to be doing pretty well, so, maybe we're fine. Anyway, in this video, we are going to look at building out the individual product pages. So when we click on our basketball hoop, we're getting a 404 at the moment, and so we want to build out the page that shows more information about our basketball hoop. So if we go back to VS Code, we're going to be creating a new route. So in our pages directory, we want to create a new folder called products. And then inside products, we want to create a dynamic route. So remember, we use the square brackets. So we do square brackets.js, and then whatever we want the name of our variable to be, of that dynamic part of our URL. And so we're going to make that product. So this hierarchy here within pages should match our URL. So because our URL is going /products/ whatever our dynamic product is, that's why we put it in a folder, products, and then we have our dynamic page component. So let's build this out. Okay, so we know all this stuff. We've got our component, we've got our getStaticProps, which we're going to use to inject static values into that component, and then we're exporting out our component itself. Okay, so now we're going to write the logic to go and read the Markdown file for one particular product. And so the first thing we're going to need is a product name to work out which file we're actually going to read. So remember, in our component, Next.js passes in props, and then we can access the router and access which dynamic route we're looking at. But in getStaticProps, this is different to our component, so we can't access this props object up here, but it passes us something called context. So we can use this context to say, well, we want to know which product has been passed in via the parameters. And so this product is going to be whatever dynamic value we've got here. So either basketball-hoop or cooking-classes or whatever that is now going to be our product name. So now we know which file we want to go and read from the file system. So let's bring in our file system package and work out what the file path is that we actually want to read. So again, to account for whether we're running locally on our machine or we're running up in Netlify land, we need to do this process.cwd function to get the root directory of our application. And then we want to go into /products, and then we want to look at that particular product name. So we can say /product name. But remember, this product name is going to just be whatever this is. So basketball-hoop. It's going to be equal to our slug. But on our file system, it's the actual file is that slug and then .md on the end. And so when we actually want to read that file from the file system, we just need to append that .md onto the end here. So our file path is whatever file system we're running in, /products/ that particular Markdown file. So now let's read that file and get our file content. And again, this is going to give us back our whole file, and so we can call toString to turn that into a big stringified version of that file. And now we want to pull our data out of front matter again. And so this data is going to give us all the front matter, but on our individual product pages, we also want to display this lorem ipsum text, which we will replace with good descriptions of our products. And so we don't just want to get data, which is the front matter, we also want to pull out content, which is the rest of that, everything underneath those three dashes. And then the props that we want to actually pass into our component is going to be this product, but then that is going to be an object with our data and our content in it. So now inside our component, we should be able to access props.product.data to get our front matter and props.product.content to get the rest of our Markdown file. So let's console log that out and see if everything's wired up correctly. Yes, we're getting this error because we need to declare something called getStaticPaths to be able to generate each of those static files. So this is actually the problem we ran into a few videos back, where our dynamic route wasn't working when we pushed it up to Netlify, and that's because we need to also declare. So we have this getStaticProps function. We need to also declare a getStaticPaths function, which is going to tell Next.js what all of our different paths are that we want to generate static files for. Because remember, this Next.js is reading over these files, it's making a request for all of that data, and then it's building up just a static version of a HTML file, which we can serve to our users to make it much faster. So above this, we're going to export const getStaticPaths. And this is going to be where we tell it which of our product pages to generate. Okay, so we can probably reuse some of the stuff that we did in our index.js file. So we want to work out what the directory is for our entire collection of Markdown files, and then we want to read over that directory and get all of our file names. So then we want to iterate over each of our file names and build up our paths. So our paths are just like our slugs from the previous example. So it's just going to be the different routes that we want to generate a page for. So we're going to map over our file names. And then from this, we return an object. And on that object, we have a params key, which we're going to set to each one of our products, which is going to be our file name. But again, it's going to be our file name without the .md on the end. So we'll need to do file name .replace, and then we'll replace .md within that file name string with just an empty string. And the last thing we need to do is from getStaticPaths itself, we now have all of these paths that we've built up. We need to return an object that Next.js is looking for, and that's going to have all of our paths on it. And then we're just going to set fallback to be false. So the reason that we do this is we can build up our own fallback page for each of our products. So we could say that for our products, we don't just want to show the default 404 page if it can't be found. We want to show like a specific products not found page. But in this case, we're just going to do fallback false, which just uses the default 404 page. So now if I save and we head back over to our browser, it's saying file path does not exist, which it doesn't, because here we did uppercase P and here we did lowercase p. I probably like it aesthetically with a lowercase p, so I'm just going to come down to our getStaticProps and make this file path like that. And then if we head back to our browser and refresh, we are getting this no such file or directory. Because we're going to /products/basketball hoop here on line 30. So if we go back to line 30, so here we're telling it to look at that file path, which is /products/our particular product. But then if we have a look at our file system, it's not under /products, it's under /content. So here in our file path, we just need to change products to content. And now we should be in business. No, matter is not defined. Oh man, I am all over the place on this one. So let's come back up the top of this file and we just need to import matter. Oh, that's 3 T's from gray-matter. And now if we save, we should be in business. So I know this looks broken, but if we open up our console, we see this product, and we are actually getting our data and our content. And so this static text product here is because inside of our component, we are just telling it to render out a paragraph with product. So here we need to tell it how we actually want to present our product. Okay, so let's get rid of that. And we're going to have an outer div, and then we're going to have a h1 that is going to have our props. And then remember, props has data and content. So we're going to want our data part of that. And then we are going to want to access our name. And let's see what that looks like. Props.data.name. It's props.product .data.name, because if we come down here to our getStaticProps, we've got props, product, data, and then inside that, that's our front matter, which has our name. Okay, and so now we're getting our basketball hoop. So that part's working, but this is probably a bit long if we're going to be doing on every single one. Props.product.data.something. So we can use our object destructuring here to pull off each of our products. And then we could even go deeper than that, and we can do this to use destructuring on the next level down. So then we could pull off data and content, and we might just leave it at that for now. So we'll say we want to render out our data.name, and then we want to render out our data.description, and lastly our data.price. And again, remember we're dividing that by 100 and putting a $sign in front of it. And we'll need to get rid of this console log because props doesn't exist anymore. So let's save that, and we should be seeing pretty much what we saw on the other page. So that's good. We're getting our data pumped through to our component. So now we just need to render out the content below this. So if we just put a paragraph here and say content, which is the name of our product's content, we're going to get this big dump of stuff, but there's no like formatting here. There's no new lines where we've added different paragraphs. And that's because it's dumping out our content as is, but it's not turning it from our Markdown syntax into our HTML. And so to do that, we are going to use a package. So we're going to have to quit our server and install another package called marked. And so what marked does is it takes a big string of Markdown syntax and it turns it into HTML for us. So I'm just going to run our server again. And then at the top of our file here, I'm going to import marked from marked. And then I can call our function here. So I can say we want to declare a new variable called HTML, and that's going to be equal to whatever marked returns us. So that's a function that we pass our content into. So content is our Markdown syntax, and now HTML is going to be our HTML syntax. And then instead of rendering this paragraph with the content in it, we can create a self-closing div. And then this has a wonderfully named attribute called dangerously set in a HTML. And that takes an object, so we need double curly brackets, and the key is __ HTML. And then we want to set that to our HTML version of our Markdown content. Okay, so if we head back to our products, we can see that we've got our nice formatted text back. So we've got our 3 different paragraphs, and if we had anything else in here like ordered lists or headings or anything like that, or images that we did in our Markdown syntax, that would all render as proper HTML here. And so the reason that it's called dangerously set in a HTML is because this doesn't do any kind of sanitizing of this input. And so you could potentially inject something that runs some JavaScript and posts the user's username and password somewhere. But since we're the ones that are writing the content in those Markdown files, we know that that is safe. So we can say dangerously set in a HTML and just give it the content that we have written. But how cool is what we've been able to build so far? Like back on our homepage, this is now a dynamic list of all of our different products that we have in Markdown files. So if we wanted to add another product, all we need to do is come here to our file system. We can copy one of these existing ones, make it whatever we want our product to be, and then fill in the unique information for this. And so when we save that and head back to our app, remember, because we're running in dev mode, this is rebuilding our app every single time we refresh. And so look, we've got our MacBook Pro there. So this has dynamically created this new element within our list. And then if we click on that, we've got this whole new static page that has been built based on that content. And every single time we refresh, like, this is super, super fast because this content has already been generated at build time. And we have all of these different static pages for each one of our products. I don't know, I think that's pretty awesome. I hope that you think it's awesome too. In the next video, we're going to look at styling a bit, so how we can make this look a little bit more trustworthy if people are going to be entering in their credit card details and buying our products. I'll see you there.